I'm Glenn.
And I'm Maddie.
We're with the Maddy Music Festival.
And we just
crushed it. Next up, we'll see you.
We killed our interview, guys.
Next up, we love it.
Welcome to the Next Up studio. My name is Luci. I'm glad to have you guys here today. How's it going?
Thank you. Glad to be here. Hope we're doing well.
Yeah, going good.
Mr. Good and Miss Madeline Goodhand. So you guys are the co-founders of the Maddy Festival, correct?
Yes, we are.
How long have you guys been doing this?
So this is our 6th year. And we've been doing promotions and events for almost 20 years.
And I know that you guys weren't always working together, but you guys are married. Mm-hmm. How does that work?
Go ahead, take it.
I think it works really well. I get to spend a lot of time with him, and I think if we were had other career paths and we're married, it'd be really, really difficult. But because we get to spend all our time together and working on the same project, having the same passions, I think it works really well, and it's been a blessing for us.
We get along, so that's good. Most time.
When you guys met, did you know that you were going to work together, or did it just come further down the line?
See, when we first met, it was a little short story, interesting story. I was doing commercial real estate, and I'd been in the promotion and rave business for a long time, but it wasn't something that was, back when I started, it was not something that was something you'd necessarily tell someone that you were suiting, I guess, is the best way to put it, because she came from a conservative family. And so when we first met, I said, oh, well, I do real estate, and I'm thinking going to law school, just finished law school, and all this stuff, but I never really mentioned the whole promotion side. And then on our first date, she asked what kind of music I liked and that type of thing, and we kind of got into a little bit more of that. I liked electronic music, which was a little bit unusual for the Southeast at that point. And then I still didn't tell her about the promotion side, because I was trying to, again, not really, the rave business or the culture or the promotion side of things wasn't necessarily socially acceptable, and especially in the conservative world. It is now, certainly it's very mainstream, but it's not something that I was, I think that for me it was like, oh, well, I do commercial real estate because that's sort of the cookie cutter thing that people want to hear, I guess, when you're looking to impress somebody, right? So that's what I did. And anyway.
You did everything except promotion.
So, but we would go out and we'd go to little places like the grocery store or anything like that, and we see people, and everyone would come to me and say, hey, Glenn, I used to come to your parties and this kind of thing. So it was fairly obvious fairly quickly that I was a bigger promoter back, and one of the biggest promoters, I suppose. Well,
everybody knew who he was.
Yeah.
And yeah. I wondered how everyone knew him, and so he finally kind of let the cat out of the bag. And everywhere in his house, he had Iris everywhere. His password was Iris, so it had this significance to him. So I asked him what is Iris, and then it just kind of started making sense after a while. And then I thought it was really cool, and I was like, oh well, man, I wish I
could come to your party.
I could have come to your parties, because that sounds like a really fun thing.
And at the time, I was taking a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, he wasn't doing it then. I was like, oh man, I missed out. I wish we could go back 10 years and I could do that. And then I guess it was my idea, but I wanted us to start again. So I
had this info line. I never took that down. I always still had the brand. Iris kept going, and she was like, what is this thing? And then she's like, we should do a party. I was like, well, you sure you want to do that? Because it's a huge commitment. So we got together and we said, all right, let's do it. Let's try it again. So we got together and we did what's called a reunion show back at this place called Celebration Hall, which we affectionately branded the church.
I was right about to ask you about that.
Yeah, and then so that became, eventually once we moved out of that building, it became Museum Bar actually eventually. Well, it became a church again, and then became Museum Bar. And then we brought that back and now we own that building, and it's called Believe Music Hall. Mm-hmm. So that's our live music venue here in Atlanta. So we have that too, in addition to Imagine.
Yeah. Tell me about Learn to Believe.
That's a question we get quite a bit.
Good question. Do you want to take it, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
So Learn to Believe, it came from Glenn's events back in the 90s when he was throwing raves. and his raves were called ESP 101 Learn to Believe. And so he carried that name and that brand throughout. And so when we started doing parties together, we brought that brand and that party back. And so we've been doing ESP 101 Learn to Believe. We were doing it at another venue for probably 7 years at Rush Lounge, which was kind of a dive bar. And then when the church became available again, we decided to acquire that building or lease it, and then we thought that the perfect name for that building, given that it is a church, and based on our history there and doing all the Learn to Believe events, so we named it Believe.
Yeah, that's some of it.
Yeah.
And then I guess bringing some of it, this is like sort of, we leave it up to interpretation. Some like
Right.
artwork, I guess, I suppose. Like, so if someone did a nice art piece over here and there was 10 different people looking at it, you'd probably get 10 different perspectives on what that meant to them. So it's the same thing with the title of the event or the event itself, what the event means to them. And so we certainly leave that up to interpretation, but I think ultimately it's a lot about bringing light to a relatively darker sort of industry. So we like to bring light to the industry, and just always a little bit more of that, and the music and culture and getting together, sort of spirituality type stuff,
And teaching people to believe in themselves, really.
Yeah. So there's a lot of inner meaning to it, but ultimately up to your interpretation.
So speaking of believe, when you were at Penn State and you're doing real estate, what made you want to transition to LA to go to law school?
Man, you have done your homework. I originally came down here. I was doing commercial real estate, and I was working for an uncle. And I've always enjoyed hosting events and entertaining people. It's sort of been my passion since high school, when I got in trouble with throwing house parties and when my parents went away and those type of things. But I had fun. It was a good time, and so. I think that carried through with college, and then even after college, when I came down here, undergrad college, Penn State. When I came down here, I wanted to get in the music business, even though I was doing commercial real estate. I still always thought about music and dancing. I was a b-boy when I was growing up, so I just wanted to be in that world. I enjoyed it. It was so I started working for another friend doing after parties and doing some. Just actually helping promote other people's events initially, and then I branched out and started doing my own after parties, very small, but it was funny because it was kind of tie like a little bit of a New York twist to it, because that's where I sort of grew up and was raised in the New York club era, or Tunnel and Limelight and all kinds of big, I guess, rave parties up there. And so I felt I was bringing that little bit of that flavor down here to Atlanta. And so even initially when I was doing the after parties, there would be very few people there, but I concentrated on good sound, good lighting. I thought that's what was important in an event, and also treating the people properly. But even another funny thing was I would have a velvet rope out front, and there was no one inside, but of course I would pretend like there was something super secret and interesting going on inside. It was like 6 a.m. for an after party, but it was still funny. But so I don't know. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry. Back to.
You did.
Yeah.
You did talk about how you transitioned. You were a b-boy. You were doing your thing.
Yeah. So the initial transition was basically just loving the music and the style, and I ended up going out. This is where it was. Yes, going out at night. And I was doing commercial real estate during the day, and I got fired from my big time job in the Tower Place in Atlanta here, and doing commercial real estate. And I was broke. I had this beautiful apartment and a nice new car, and no way to pay for it. And so I got used to that lifestyle, and so I was trying to figure out how to pay for it. Did odd end jobs, and then a friend of mine just asked.
He's done every job, by the way.
Yeah, I have done any job. Well, I was just trying to pay the rent at that point. So, but then that also helped me circle back to figure out what I really did have passion in and what I wanted to do, and that was promotion and just entertaining people, and I really enjoyed it. And that's kind of what got me through those tougher times, because it's certainly been a up and down road, and have to be persistent for sure.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. It definitely, it's a struggle.
I can guarantee that. What brought you here? I know that you went to school at Florida State, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What brought you? What drug you here to Atlanta?
So my parents drove me here to Atlanta. I was born in Finland, and I lived in Europe, and I traveled the world with my parents when I was young. And my dad, he was actually, he was into like mobile phones, and he had a pretty high position at Nokia back in the day, and so that's why we traveled so much, because it was right when cell phones were coming out, and so he was responsible for kind of like, you know, helping Nokia get their phones out. And so we moved to America in 1999 because there's an opportunity for him here, and so that's how I came to be. And I've been here in Atlanta ever since. I went to high school here, middle school here, and then I ended up going to Florida State for college, and then I came back. And actually, when I was in college, I took a summer and I went to LA, and I thought I wanted to be a talent agent. And so when I graduated school, that was like the thing that I was going to do. I was set, you know, I was going to go back to LA. And then, but in the meantime, while I was here in Atlanta, in my transition phase after college, living with my parents, like a lot of people are used to, I ran into Glenn, and we fell in love, and we decided to stay here in Atlanta.
That's a short story. Yeah. I was going to go to LA too. Right after I graduated law school, I was going to be an agent, you know. So we had a lot in common.
When our first date, I said it was like 3 questions. The first question was, well, what kind of music do you like? And he said, oh, I really like electronic music. I said, oh, well, that's interesting, because like nobody in Georgia knows what electronic music is, and I'm a huge fan, because just from Europe and from being in Florida. And so that was really nice. And then a couple other things were just, we were interested in the entertainment industry. Both had a passion, wanted to be agents. But definitely it was like, now that I know the world, agents would not have been a good fit for us at all. But
we love you, agents. Don't get us
wrong. We
wrong.
love you guys, but you guys don't. But yeah, so it was just, we had a lot of things in common.
So tell me, what's your first festival? What was that experience like?
The first Imagine Festival?
Go ahead.
Sure. I distinctly remember, well, first, before we opened, I remember sitting there thinking, is anybody going to show up? And hoping that someone would be there. And then people did show up. We had a really good turnout, actually. And I was walking around, and I just kept thinking, are people having fun? Like, I hope this is okay. Like, I hope people like this. And you know, it was after the event that we found out just how I guess magical the event was for everybody, and got such great reviews. And so it was, I don't know, I guess I was a little nervous.
Yeah, when we first did it, when we first decided to think about doing a festival, we were going to do a club. We were at someone else's venue, and we were like, oh, well, this is great, but it's not 100% our vision, right? So we had other people's security, and they might have been a little overzealous, and some other people's bartenders, because we were in someone else's house. Mm-hmm. So that's when we were like, okay, well, let's do our own thing, either in our own club or a festival. It's a good segue. So we said, okay, well, we looked for a club, and it fell through. So we said, okay, well, we're going to do a festival. It sounds easy. Was not easy. That was the wrong thing. And what's pretty funny, we got a great team, actually, right from the beginning. We had a good festival director, and one of the most famous festival directors, and he came around and he said, this was like day one of the festival. We're like all excited. We're thinking we're going to have an armored car for the money and all the crazy expectations. And of course that was completely backwards. It was the other way. And he said, oh, throwing a festival is kind of funny. It's like taking a suitcase full of money and throwing it in the ocean. And Matt and I looked at each other and were like, is he joking? I hope he's kidding, because we're expecting to make some money here, and we totally lost a bunch of money. Anyway, it was
which is normal.
It's normal. It's normal. But we didn't know.
It's like a rite of passage.
But we didn't know. We didn't know. It was part of the struggle for us. We lost a bunch of money, and we kept going, and we were like, oh, what the heck are we going to do now? We just lost a lot of money, more money than we really had ever dreamed of.
There was kind of a funny moment that first year. Was we were standing, it was Adventure Club playing, and it was, I think, one of the closing sets, and Glenn and I are standing there together with all our friends around us, and me and him are just holding hands, and I'm like bawling because they're playing this song Gold, and it's like really beautiful, and I'm crying, but my friends are like, oh, you're crying because it's such a good event and you're so happy, and I'm like, no, I'm crying because we lost so much money. Of course, I didn't tell him that, but that's what was going on in my head. So we were just looking, at least we could share in that, feeling, and we looked at each other, but we carried on, and
some of the things like just the impetus sort of for keeping going after you face those times of those type of issues and hurdles are where people come up to us and they were said, they had tears in their eyes, and this absolutely sincere compliment of how much fun they had and how it changed their life to come to this event that we were a part of producing, and that is what kind of keeps it going, and to the point of being almost spiritual for us. It's just invaluable experience for someone to come to you and say how much an event that you were a part of producing at least, meant to them and changed their life. And so that is why we're still here, and that's why we're still
it validated what we were doing. Just all those sincere, we all got all these sincere compliments, and just people telling us how literally our festivals either changed their life or just they got married there. It meant so much to them, and just having someone tell you that makes you understand that, okay, well, maybe there's a higher purpose behind what we're doing, and that we need to figure out a way to just keep going and keep doing what we're doing, because obviously it's helping people.
Trying to do something, trying to do it right, the right way, I suppose.
Well, you guys have a pretty interesting dynamic. You guys have like games and like wellness classes and stuff, and all types of random stuff in this forest, in this majestic wonderland.
Aquatic wonderland.
Yeah. Under the sea.
Aquatic fairy tale.
Yeah, we try to be diverse. We try to create as a great experience for everybody. So for us, well, even from the beginning, it was sort of a blank canvas for us, which was nice. And we got to sort of try to figure out what we would enjoy if we went to a festival. And so we'd go to other people's festivals, and it felt a little bit more like a cattle call, I guess. And it didn't feel like the owners, you could kind of, it trickles down, I think, from the owners, whether or not they care about their customers. And not saying there's other festivals that don't, because there's certainly some really good festivals out there that are doing it right, and you can tell. I think you can tell the difference between a big corporate conglomerate event that's just thrown up with a box versus someone that really cares about the art curation and the food and every single little detail. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that everybody has that great experience, and can tell that we really put all of our heart into the event and making sure everybody has a great experience, whether that's from the person spending, saved all their money, didn't go to McDonald's or whatever for that week and was able to buy a ticket, or the highest VIP person. We want to make sure everybody has an absolutely amazing time and gets it and really understands while we're there. And so we want to give them as much value as we can in that, and part of that is opening their eyes and ears and hearts to new experiences. Some of that's transformational type classes, some of that's new music, some of that's new food, just complete diversity all the way around, from the food, the patrons, the art, the everything. There's a lot of different stuff going on, and letting people learn new things while they're walking around the festival and having a good time while they're doing it. A little bit of an escape, I suppose.
Right. It's an escape. Well. It's a weekend escape, really a vacation. So we want to give them a lot of different options.
So how did you guys even get your Atlanta Motor Speedway? How did you guys even come about with using the space?
Well, they came to us. They approached us after we initially did Imagine Festival at the old historic 4th Ward Park. We combined 4 different venues: Masquerade Music Park, the Masquerade, 4th Ward Park, and Clear Creek Basin, which is that beautiful water feature there. And we did 2 years there, and after our second year, we'd actually outgrown the space. And they happened to be redeveloping that area. So that particular year, we had to find a new location. And it just so happened that we got an email one day from the Atlanta Motor Speedway that just said, hey, we're interested in what you guys are doing. We'd love for you to come see our space and see if we're a good fit for you guys. And then I think it probably took 8 months probably of negotiation and talking to them and trying to figure it out. And then, finally, we got it. We got the space.
Yeah, it's got room to grow. We wanted to try to find a place that we could call home and not have to not outgrow. We looked at a lot of places in our city, and then we felt in order to grow where we wanted to add camping and add these other experiences that we couldn't do if we were just inner city. And so we added a day. This year we added a 4th day. We added camping, and the first year was a huge undertaking for us. We're probably in a little bit over our heads even, but we make mistakes like everyone, and we acknowledge that. But we also learn from those mistakes and then try to improve each year from customers' feedback and that. And we do a questionnaire after each festival and try to make sure we keep a good grasp of what people are saying and feeling about the festival, and we try to improve each year to address all those concerns with Imagine. And so
I'd say we're also just always online. We're always on our social media. Oftentimes Glenn and I are the ones answering. So it's just, we have that direct line of communication with our guests, and can really hear from them what they like, what they don't like, what they want. And just we think we take all that information in and make a festival out of it. Yeah,
sometimes on social media they're like, this is just an intern talking right here, answering Facebook messages or whatever it is. And we're like, no, this is me. It's cute, or one of us talking. And so we do have I feel like we're pretty engaged with our customers. And one of our I think one of our favorite experiences, at least mine, is going around the festival with our family and walking around and actually being able to communicate and talk to people and, seeing the smiling faces that we talked about earlier and getting that, the nod is what they call it sometimes, the nod of appreciation, like, thank you, so that's what we love. And sometimes, and that's our favorite moment. We cherish that when we actually get a little bit to see people having fun. That's what we did.
Is there something that you guys are, well, I'll give each of you guys, what's your favorite thing or something that you're most excited about for this year's festival?
I'm excited. We added a lot this year. We added a 4th day, which is pretty exciting. It gives a whole another day of programming and music, and then that allows us to open up our campgrounds early, which a lot of people wanted, so that they can get there, get a good spot, and kind of get set up. We are doing a pool party this year, which is new for us, which I think is going to be really, really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So we're going to open up the festival. We have a giant splash pool. It's like ginormous,
It's going to double in size potentially.
It's going to get bigger this year.
Yeah.
But we're going to actually open up access to that early, so people can come in on Saturday in the afternoon. It's going to be good for a lot of our campers who are looking for something to do. They can come have a Vegas-style pool party. We're actually going to announce it soon, but a little sneak peek. We are talking about adding a whole gaming lounge to the festival and adding a live stream and all this different stuff with some of our headliners playing in tournaments and gaming. So that's pretty neat. What else are we going to... Besides the music, because the music's going to be great.
Yeah, the music is good. We like the music.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We have some big announcements coming soon too for next year.
Yeah, we do.
So stay tuned for that one. But I think she named it. I think as far as my favorite, I enjoy walking around. I don't know. I think that's the most fun. I of course love the talent. I think we have some good talent every year. It's always trying to prove what we can do to beat the last year's lineup. And I think
We have a
done
cool,
good job this year.
another cool thing that we're doing this year is it's called the Backstage Platinum Pass, which allows people to actually go backstage and watch the performers from a side view, so they can actually be on stage with the performers. And then there's this whole lounge back there for them, so they basically get to hang out with the artists and rub shoulders. So that's
Get a
kind of
little
neat.
of the backstage
Kind of be in the
experience,
industry
yeah.
experience and be backstage, and that's kind of what we're trying to do is, in some ways, give people a glimpse into the behind the scenes and what it takes to throw a festival, and just kind of what goes on behind the scenes, really. So giving people a little glimpse of that.
Little splash.
Little
Yeah.
splash.
Now I have a random question for you. 'Cause I know that you said once upon a time, maybe this could be a lie, but I think that you might have said it, that you really enjoyed Atlanta because of the type of artists that come out of Atlanta.
The artist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you listening to right now from Atlanta?
Oh, man. Well, I like Leah Culver, of course. She's originally from Atlanta. As far as EDM goes, I like Eddie Gold, Floyd. Those guys are some of my favorites. They're Iris fam, for sure. As far as the music in Atlanta, obviously, I love Outkast, of course. I think I love how they... I think, it wasn't Big Boy, it was... who was it? Andre,
Yeah,
that's like the South is here or whatever in his interview. Or we're here to stay, or
The South is here to
South
stay.
is something to say. The South has something to say.
You
Andre
can add
said
that.
South has something to say. So yeah, and that was a big moment for hip hop, and I think we kind of like to take that on ourselves too, and say yeah, it's big too in EDM and electronic world, and I like that whole just the melting pot that's here with the artists and music, and it feels like everything's kind of coming together. And hip hop has electronic tones now, and electronic music has hip hop tones, and different all the genres are kind of mixing together. And now country music and hip hop, everything else going on. So
We hear some EDM and country.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's cool, and we're excited to be on that in that world and in that industry, and we're blessed and thankful for all of it. We're here and we're not going anywhere. We love Atlanta, and we made it our home. We've been here for over 20 years, so we call it our home now, and we love it. And so we're trying to do whatever we can to put those performers that we like, even the ones that are just coming up, on the map a little bit, or at least give them a little bit of guidance to the right way to go. And what else?
Yeah.
So that's one thing we try to pride ourselves in, is helping
our locals and just really giving them a platform to shine on that they might not normally have the experience or opportunity to do. So you'll notice in our lineup releases that we have a lot of locals on there, and that's just giving them that support that I think they need. And I think it's important for festivals to incorporate local talent as well it's just as important as your headliners, I think.
Yeah, we do that not just with talent too, but also with the production. So sound, lighting, we all use local companies here, and well, we've noticed they've been doing really well for themselves too. So the companies that we add on to Imagine, we're trying to be super loyal, as long as they don't get too big for us, and keep them on board. And they seem to be getting a lot of reciprocal work from the festival too.
Nationally,
and getting, yeah, absolutely internationally. I mean, yeah. So that's good. We like it, and we're happy about that. And if we can help bring people along with us, and if obviously we need people to help us along the way, and if we can do the same and reciprocate, then we're happy to do so.
Where can these people, beautiful people,
Yeah.
find any information, see about performing, do anything with the Imagine Fest? How can they get in contact?
So the best way is through our website, imaginefestival.com, and then you can reach out to us on our socials. We are very active on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Those handles are Imagine Music Festival, like that, Imagine Music Festival.
Yeah.
And then Twitter is a funny one because it's Imagine Music Fest, F-E-S, without the T.
That was me. I couldn't fit. They wouldn't let me do the whole festival, so I did.
But if you just Google us, then you'll find everything.
Yeah. And if you see Glenn or Maddie on there that says that their account replying to you, it is us, I promise.
Well, thanks for sharing your time and kicking it. We do appreciate you stopping by the Next Up Studio.
Thanks.
Thank
See
you
y'all
for
at
having
Imagine.
us. See you at Imagine.
All right.